start that little guitar intro. There we go. What's up, people? Anavoy here, and you're watching Dreams to Reality podcast. This is episode 34, and we are back in the studio. Last episode, we went mobile, but today we're back home, we're in our environment, and we're feeling great. Today, guys, we got a very special guest. We have another contract killer, another assassin, a professional mixed martial artist with over 10 years experience. He is the former CFL lightweight champion, and he went pro back in 2017. Last year, he actually signed with Cage Warriors, which is a major MMA promotion that's had some great UFC champions come out of, such as Conor McGregor, Paddy Pimblett, Michael Bisping, Dan Hardy, and many other fighters. He actually has a fight coming up on March 3rd at the Sea Quan Resort and Casino in San Diego, California. It's also going to be airing in over 180 million homes worldwide on UFC Fight Pass. So please help me welcome the great Robert Greenlight Hernandez. Welcome, brother. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's your day been going, man?
It's been a long day. That's all
yeah,
I say.
Yeah. I know you probably were in traffic for like 3 hours coming down from that mountain.
Yeah, it's crazy because when you're coming down, and like 10 minutes could turn into 30 minutes going down there.
That's what people don't understand about California. It's like, oh, it's so beautiful, but that damn traffic always gets you, man. But I really want to thank you, for taking the time to drive all the way down. I know you're coming from Hesperia, right?
Yes, sir.
And we're in the beautiful city of Pasadena. For people that don't know that distance is really not that far, but in California traffic, it's a pain in the ass.
Exactly. From 1 hour, and then it turned into 1 hour and 30.
Yeah.
On the way.
There you go. And you got to drive back too.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, man. So how are you feeling, bro? Are you ready for your fight?
Yes, I've been preparing. I've been doing everything right. And I honestly feel like my opponent doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
He has some quality skills. He's 15-10.
Okay, so he has experience.
He has experience.
That's a lot of fights. That's 25 fights.
I have barely 6 fights.
Yeah.
But
how old is this guy?
He's 32, I believe.
Okay, he's got that old man strength too, bro.
Yeah, he does.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 29.
29. I just turned 35 a few days ago, and it's weird when you have that old man strength. It's a weird feeling because I wake up and all my fucking joints hurt. It takes me like 2 seconds to roll out of bed. Like you gotta really get the oil in the muscles and in the joints to get going.
Yes.
But I'm the fucking strongest I've ever been in my life. I feel like an ox, bro. Like I could just grab people and just pick them up over my head and stuff. It's weird. It's like, there's that old man strength,
Yeah. Hey, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
I ain't there yet,
go.
But hopefully.
I wish I didn't have the injuries, though. I'd rather have that youth energy than the old man strength.
And I always hear it, on the basketball courts, because I do play basketball too on the side, and they always say it's a different vibe. When you're 30 years old, you gotta when you're really pushing it, you got those extra games. You gotta really
take it easy, man.
Take it easy.
Yeah, bro. When I'm playing with those old men in basketball, fucking smelling like Bengay and shit. Everybody's all wrapped up with knee straps, back braces. You got all these different devices to keep you going.
Another thing too, I remember when I was younger, when I was in 20, 21, all the old heads in the MMA rooms would be, warming up, doing stretches, and I'll be looking at them oh my
I'm ready
gosh.
to go.
And now that I'm getting older, I'm just wait. Yeah. Hey, they knew something I didn't.
Yeah, one of the subjects that we talk a lot about on this podcast is mentorship, and having people that came before you to guide you and to mentor you and to teach you ways to avoid pitfalls. And the problem, it's not a problem. It's just, it's good and it's bad that when you're young, you're ambitious, you just think, just go. But you can miss so many little details that would improve your game in anything you do. And that doesn't matter if you're an MMA fighter, if you're a financial analyst, if you're an actor, if you're whatever you're doing, there's people that have done it before you that have been as successful or more successful that can teach you so many different skills. And thinking back, man, I could have prevented so many injuries just by proper form, proper technique, proper rest, proper nutrition, proper, recovery. And not knowing these little things makes the difference between a professional and an amateur, And as you start to develop in your craft, that is what's going to make you shine above everybody else. You know, everything is on point. And then at the elite level, guess what? Your opponent is on point too. And now it's just a fucking dogfight. Like who actually has the most skills? It's not like, hey, he didn't train hard enough. Hey, he didn't this or that. Excuses are out the fucking window. I don't care who you are. On the day that you go into that cage, into that ring, and you're fighting the opponent next to you, you made a commitment. You signed a contract that you were going to perform at your highest level. And and if you don't, there is no excuses. You can't blame anything. You know, my fish was sick, you know, or whatever it was.
Yes.
That's the difference between a professional and an amateur, man. So today I really wanted to hear your story because I really don't know anything about you. You know, I know that you... Oh, someone's calling me. Sorry about that. It's my mom. Sorry, Mom. I'll call you later.
Sorry, Mom. Hey, no,
Mom, I'm sorry. You know, you're calling me, but I'll call you right back after the show. So I know you're a training partner with Tony Cortez, which is a fighter that I'm helping with his digital marketing. He's been on the podcast a couple of times. He's also a rising star, so I know he spoke very highly of you. He edified you very highly. So I was looking forward to hear your story. And I know you train with Joe Daddy Stevenson, which is another amazing ex-UFC fighter and a champion in his own right. And I wanted to hear, you know, what led you into this world and, you know, how your journey has been so far.
What led me into this journey was when I was a little kid. I've told the story in my Instagram, and I'll tell it again.
Yeah.
I remember I was like 10 years old, and it was raining outside, and I seen rain just falling down. My mom, my uncle, my aunt were just talking in the front porch, and I just decided to just go punch this rain. I don't know why. Just catch it in midair and just punch it.
You started fighting the rain?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was swinging as hard as I can, fast as I can, thinking I could catch 3 at once.
Yeah.
Like 3 raindrops.
That's funny.
And my uncle he said, like, wow, like he was telling my mom, like, look at him, look at him. He's punching the rain. He's swinging fast, swinging hard. Man, this guy's gonna be a champion. Yeah. And even though my uncle was just talking just to talk, because you never know how your kids or your nephew's gonna grow up.
Yeah.
But that felt good. I felt good inside.
Felt special.
Yeah, I felt special, and I kept that feeling with me.
Yeah.
Until and then I started seeing boxing. Mm-hmm. And then I seen Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah. All my family will get together, watch the boxing fights.
Yeah.
And I seen De La Hoya, so I had made my mom buy a punching bag. I started punching.
What year was this?
I don't even. Oh, this was when
he was fighting.
He fought Floyd.
Oh, okay. Yes. So he had came back.
Yes.
Okay.
And after that, that's when like I seen MMA.
Yeah.
Because I thought that boxing was a little bit, I don't know, I just didn't connect fully, but I liked it.
Yeah.
But then once I seen MMA, like my whole life made sense. Like it just clicked for me. Like I never had this hidden motivation, hidden hunger. I just wanted to be that. It was Matt Hughes versus GSP when GSP head kicked Matt Hughes.
Oh yeah, I remember that fight.
And I knew that GSP was the man.
Yeah.
You just watching it, he just looks
I
like
am not impressed.
Yeah, I'm not impressed by his performance. But so that was what got me in. And
that's awesome.
When I waited all the way till like 18, and now I got a job, and at 19 I signed up to Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
Joe Stevenson's gym.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how MMA has kind of evolved over the years. Because me as a child as well, growing up, boxing was everything. You know, I was in boxing, my brother was in boxing, my cousins were in boxing, and you know, every time there was like a Tyson fight or a freaking what's his name, Julio Cesar Chavez fight, it was like cousins, neighbors, everybody came to our house, and we just had big screen TV, and everybody just around putting bets on which round they were gonna win, you know, and it was like an exciting event, and just seeing two people compete and the anticipation and the excitement of a competition like that was very exhilarating for me as well. And same thing when I first saw MMA. I actually saw the first UFC fight ever because I was like super into WWF, you know, fake wrestling.
Me too. Me too.
I was like the biggest Ultimate Warrior fan, you know, Bret the Hitman Hart and, you know, all the old school wrestlers. And one of my favorite wrestlers of all time was Ken Shamrock, you know, they used to call him the most dangerous man. And I knew at that point that he used to fight in like Pancrase, which is like way before UFC. It was like in Japan, and it was like a mixture of like grappling, and you couldn't strike with your fist, you had to hit with your palm. Yeah, like pa pa pa. And Bass Rutten was back then too, fighting with him, and then Ken Shamrock's brother Frank Shamrock was there as well. And I used to go to like the local people don't even know what the fuck this is, a local VHS store, you know. Like that was a VHS.
Yeah, for real. Hey.
And they had like this section that was all sports, you know, and they had like all this like crazy stuff like Japanese like wrestling, and so it was in the same aisle where the WWF was, but it was also like real stuff, like old fights, you know, old boxing fights, old you know, Pancrase fights. And I used to just like remember go to like the couches and like get all the quarters and shit that my dad that fall out of my dad's pocket when he would like fall asleep. I would go into the laundry room, get any quarters and pennies that fell out of like pants and stuff, and we would, you know, grab our bikes and go get some cans and go recycle them just so we can go rent some UFC, some Pancrase, some WWF stuff, and then go watch and eat pizza. You know?
Yeah, that's cool, man.
And the first UFC fight was with Ken Shamrock, and he got all the way to the end, and he fought Royce Gracie, and that was the first time I ever saw what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. I had no idea what Jiu-Jitsu was. I knew like you know, karate and Jeet Kune Do from like you know, Bruce Lee and judo and Kenpo and all that, but I had no idea what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. So I barely even knew what Jiu-Jitsu was. And I was like, this dude looks like a karate guy. He had a gi on. I was like, it's a karate dude. But he was doing some weird shit. And he like, I don't know what the hell happened. They rolled around on the floor. And I was like, oh, Ken Shamrock's going to just get him in an ankle lock. And he tapped him out like in a few seconds. And then I was like, what the fuck just happened here? And he used the gi to choke him out. And Ken Shamrock was like, you could use that. He's like, yeah, he tapped him out, you know? And that was the first time I was exposed. I was like, how the hell could this little skinny runt, you know, what's his name is, was it Royce Gracie?
Royce Gracie.
Yeah, Royce Gracie. He was like 160 pounds. Ken Shamrock was like 260, roided to the gills, you know, just a jack freak. And he beat him in a few seconds. And I was like, man. And over time, the MMA world started to just evolve like crazy, you know. And today I look at the fighters like you and everyone else's fighters like, damn, these dudes are on a whole nother level where you're really, really incorporating true mixed martial arts. You're getting rid of all the bullshit, you know, stuff that doesn't work, and you're using things that work, which is a combination of striking, grappling, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu, you know. So I really commend anybody that gets into a cage and fights another person. I give my hats off to you, because people don't understand, like, you might think it's all fun and games, but try getting punched in the face or get choked out, or someone gets you in a leg lock or arm bar or anything, and you're going to realize that maybe you don't want to do this shit, you know. So once you, you know, you got that spark, and it sounds like your uncle kind of started to, you know, put a little fire in you. How old were you when you actually started to train seriously into MMA?
19.
19. Okay.
I started training at 19, and I knew I wanted to do that since that time. Since when he told me when I was a little kid. So it's like I kind of already envisioned my future for myself. Yeah. It's the only thing that, like, when people are like, oh, what did you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I was too ashamed to say I want to be an MMA fighter, because everyone else was like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be this. And me, I'm just like, I'll just pass on it. Like, cause
you wouldn't say?
I wouldn't say.
Oh, wow.
Until, you know.
Were you scared of the ridicule? Were you scared of what was it that made you not want to say what you wanted to do?
Because at that time, it's just a different dream. You know, everyone's on their dreams is college educated. Like, you know, that's their dream. That's what they want to do as a profession. And mine's is like totally different. And they just probably would have seen me as a loser. Yeah. So, and this was like in high school. Yeah. So, like, it was kind of hard for me to tell them, because then they're automatically going to, oh, this guy's going to lose loser. Like, yeah, you didn't want to be stigmatized as someone that has got nothing going on. Yes, exactly. I understand that. And most people that choose a path that's different than the ordinary have to have certain amount of courage,
You know, when you step out into what is not normal or is not, you know, what most people do, you tend to get ridiculed. You tend to get put down. And you have to have a really, really, really strong belief system in what you're doing and in yourself to persevere. And everybody that, you know, is out there that's looking to accomplish a big goal, that is looking to change their life. Maybe they fucking hate what they're doing. Like, I'm tired of this shit. I want to do something else. I've always wanted to do this. They have that same fear that you had when you were a kid, which is like, oh, they're going to think I'm a loser. They're going to think I'm going to do this. They're going to do that. And that is a fucking dream killer, bro. That kills so many dreams. But at the same time, I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary for people to feel that fear and have courage, because guess what? Not everybody's going to fucking make it. You know? Only the strong survive. And the ability to persevere and showcase the talents and skills that you have, no one is responsible but you. You know, you have to have the ability to get better at what you're doing. So your first time into the ring, you know, getting into MMA, starting to train, starting to spar, did it come pretty easy to you? Do you think you have a natural gift, or was it something you had to like really grind out and get good at?
Yeah, thanks to, for me, I grew up like fighting a lot of people. Yeah. In high school, you know, I was just
for fun.
For fun. I was just
or were you okay, you're a hothead.
I was just a hothead. Look at people, we look at what's up. All right, after school, boom, we're fighting. Yeah. So like, I don't know why, but when that mindset and that type of already, what do you call it? I wouldn't want to say like MMA tested, but I was battle tested already. Yeah. I already had this I've been fighting already. So yeah, when I transitioned, I realized there's a lot of vaginas. There's a lot of little bitches out there. Yes. That I'm like, go on. Yeah, that have never been punched in the face. Yes. You know? And then and they're afraid of that fight. And I'm looking at them like, wait, hold on, why? And sometimes they're even technically better than me. Yeah. But like at that time when I barely started, so it helped me transition. And I'm athletic as well. I'm explosive. I got footwork. One thing I could say, I have a brain. I have an IQ. I don't like to make mistakes. Yeah. And so when I transitioned, I realized there's a lot of vaginas. Yeah. So that puts you on a whole nother level immediately. Yeah. Like I could go there. And they didn't want to go there, but I was willing to go there with them. Yeah. And I could see it in the middle of the fighting, that their wheels kind of breaking. Like, man, this guy's going to be in my face. I just hit this guy really hard, and he's still here. He's still. Yeah. And that feeling just, that's another thing. I just like taking this confidence away, and it's coming to me. And that felt good. Yeah. Most people that have not been in hand-to-hand combat don't really understand what you're saying. They have an idea because they observe it. But when you're actually doing it, it's a very different feeling. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because, you know, I also been in a couple of fights myself. And I know what you mean. There's sometimes guys that are physically more, you know, intimidating than you. And they're usually going around bullying people and doing whatever they want and just talking a bunch of crap and, you know, just being assholes. And the second that someone stands up to them, immediately you will see if they're about it or not, you know. And it's funny when they're not, because someone that's more skilled when it comes to fighting can easily, you know, overpower someone that's physically bigger and stronger. You know, just like I talked about Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie, you know, it was like almost 100-pound difference, and he just overtook him with skill, with intellect, with fight IQ, with patience, with a lot of different skills that you would have to learn, you know, with training. And the thing is, when I like what you said, when you start to take away their confidence, it's like, when someone comes up to you, they talk shit, you're like, all right, let's go, you know? And they're like, boom, you see it in their face right away. Like, oh, he's losing his confidence. He's never been, nobody's ever stepped up to him because he's so big or this or that. Yes. And then you look at their feet, how they're like, this fool doesn't even know how to freaking stand, you know? And right away you're like, this is going to be easy. You see him throw a couple of freaking freaking wide punches. You just duck them or back away. And he's losing his confidence. And then you hit him with maybe a quick jab to the face just to see how he reacts to actually getting punched. And it's funny when you see people crumble. You're like, they're like, oh, you're like, and every single little thing you're doing with skill, with intellect, with patience,
you're taking away that confidence. And then the bully is no longer there, you know, and you can showcase, like I said, your skills. And fighting is an interesting thing because it's like a fire, you know. You can have it controlled, which is you have a skill set, you know what you're doing, and you're doing it either as a sport or as a way to defend yourself. But it can also be a very dangerous thing where it could fucking cause a forest fire, and you could really go around injuring people, hurting people, killing people. You know, there's people that have been in bar fights and hit someone one time and they die, and now you're in prison for the rest of your life. You know, so it's good that MMA and fighting in general has given so many people an opportunity to, one, harness that fire, because there's a lot of people that have anger and resentment and all these bottled up feelings that they don't know how to express them. And when they get into the cage, it gives them an outlet, you know, in a contained environment where there's a referee, there's rules, there's regulations, there's paddings, it's a safer, you're still gonna get hurt. It's a safer environment than hitting someone on the street and them cracking their head on the fucking concrete and dying, you know? So when you say, you used to fight on, you know, before you got into the actual cage and trained professionally, you know, was it pretty consistent that you were fighting, or was it just from time to time?
No, it was consistent.
Okay.
I went to high school with two brothers, and I have an older brother, and he's like, you know, he's a bad boy. And I was bad too. So I had my fights, but when he graduated, he still had all this enemies.
Oh,
so they're like, oh, let me go to this little brother. He's gone. And I was like, damn, all right. So then I had to fight like a couple of times after school. Yeah. So it was just bad. I had to fight his fights and my own fights.
Oh, man, I know exactly how that is because my cousin, which I have an older brother. He's 2.5 years older than me. And then my cousin is 2.5 years older than my brother. So it's just doom, you know?
Yeah.
And my cousin would always be pretty much practically lived with us. And he was like a Golden Gloves champ, and everyone knew him as a boxer. And he trained my brother on how to fight. And my brother trained me, and, you know, I would box with them. And nobody ever fucked with my cousin because he would knock everybody out. You know, we would have little boxing matches like on our front yard with a little... They were like 1 pound gloves. It was literally just knuckles and a little pad on it. And we would fight like the neighbors and stuff like that. And he would knock everybody out. You know, he'd beat the shit out of everybody. And then my brother, his nickname was Boxer because he would knock everybody out too. So that was the little brother, like, oh, let's test this food too. So I know exactly. I remember one time, it was really funny. My front neighbors, they had the same situation where the youngest was my age. Then his brother was my brother's age. And then their older brother was my cousin's age. Yeah. And they had all fought except me and the little brothers. So they're like, let's match them up, you know. But these little fuckers brought two of them. He brought his little cousin, and like they're both gonna fight you at the same time. I was like, let's do it, screw it. And I remember like they didn't know how to fight, and at that time I was already boxing, you know. So I knew how to strike, you know, I knew how to punch, I knew how to block, and I just started beating the shit out of both of them, and then they both started crying. And the older brother got pissed off, like, man, you guys don't know how to fight. You guys are crying. So then he came up to me and he like beat the shit out of me. He like started hitting me, like, bah, 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 bah. And like I fell down and I got back up, you know. And he's like, no, you're cool, man. You're cool. I was like, I was about to just like get my ass beat because I really couldn't defend myself against this guy. But that's the test of heart that we talk about. You know, having a fighter's heart is something that it's either within you or it's not. You know, it's the fight or flight response in your amygdala, in your brain, which is when something tough happens, are you going to run away? You're going to hide? You're going to be a little bitch? Or are you going to face that adversity, face that opponent, and do whatever it takes to overcome? You know, if someone comes into my life and they're trying to take something from me, I'm not going to let them. Like, I'm ready to die, bro. And that's what a fighter is, you know, and you can't teach that to people. It's just, I think, you know, I might be wrong. It may be something you can't teach, but I think it's just something that's inherently in certain people, you know, and for the most part, from my perspective, it's usually people that don't have anything, you know, because like the little that I fucking have, I've earned this shit, and you better not take it from me because like I don't got nothing else. Exactly. You know, so I grew up in, you know, pretty, you know, I wasn't wealthy or anything, and everybody else was poor, so I don't know any difference. But that's what I've realized. Most people that have that kind of fighter's heart, they come from that kind of background.
Struggle.
Yeah. So how was your childhood? Was it pretty easy, upcoming?
I grew up with all my cousins. You know, my childhood was, I would say it was good, but it was My childhood was good, but it was just more on the, yeah, we just love fighting. I don't know. We just like to fight, and we like to do bad things together. We'll have boxing matches, but, you know, I grew up in Compton. You know, I'm not trying to say like it was bad growing up in Compton, but you are exposed to certain things. And
it's bad growing up in Compton, bro.
I remember I was friends with the crackhead, the neighborhood crackhead, you know.
Oh, yeah. He's like, yo, want some cheeseburgers?
Like, my mom would feed him every morning.
That's funny.
My mom would feed this crackhead every single morning.
Yeah.
And he'll always be at our house before we go to school.
Yeah.
Because my mom would feed him. So, like, we're exposed to things like this.
Yeah.
And
like, you know, that corner is where all the prostitutes are at.
Yeah,
that's where all
like,
the gangsters are at over
exactly.
there. That's the neighborhood crackhead. He's good. He just, you know, just give him a cheeseburger. He won't steal anything from you. He'll try to sell you your own watch, but, you know, just give him $20. You'll be fine. Yeah.
So, like, the one thing I noticed with I guess I would call it the hood, is when you're from the outside looking in, it looks crazy. It looks like, oh, my gosh, like, what? Don't go there.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, it feels safe. You feel kind of safe.
It's what you're comfortable with, is what you're used to, and they call that it's a psychological thing, you know, which we do talk about this a lot on the podcast as well. It's a paradigm. You know, a paradigm is a certain way of thinking, a certain way of being. You know, the way that you accomplish goals is, first you have to think about what you want. You know, you got to think about it. And then once you realize what you want, you actually have to believe that you can accomplish it. And that's the hard part, you know. So let's say you grew up in Compton, in the hood. Your mom fed the fucking crackhead every day, you know, and your neighbors were all gangbangers, and, you know, your father wasn't there, your mom was absent, you know. All you know is poverty. Then you typically have a poverty mindset, and you have a poverty paradigm. On the opposite, if you come from wealth, and all you know is wealth, and, you know, your dad's a business owner, you know, all your friends and neighbors have like the brand new everything, you know, it's just normal to you. So you expect it, you know. So that's why you'll see third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation welfare recipients, you know, and you'll see 3, 4, 5, 6 generation multimillionaires, because they have a different paradigm. And to change it is very, very difficult. You know, you have to get really, really emotionally involved with believing that you can accomplish it, and then start acting and moving in a different way, you know. And since all you know, everything you see, you taste, you smell, you touch, is the current environment that you're in, it's very difficult to get out of it. And typically the best way to do it is to remove yourself from that environment. You know, you got to put yourself, expose yourself to a different way of thinking, expose yourself to a different way of being, expose yourself to a different lifestyle. And that's how I was able to kind of get out of the mindset that I was in. You know, I was exposed by very successful entrepreneurs, you know, that were doing things, and they started saying things to me that, you know, were foreign. It started like, think positively. I'm like, everybody telling me to, like, everybody's negative in my life, you know, you know, or like, you know, just different things, little golden nuggets that they would say that was completely opposite of my worldview, you know. So when it comes to fighting, it's cool because anybody could get into it, whether you're rich, you're poor, you're whatever race you're in, whatever sex you are. If you want to fight, put on the gloves, bro. Get in here and let's test where you're at, you know. So that's cool that you were able at a young age to find your passion, you know. That's what it sounds like to me. That happened, you know. You found something that you were passionate about, and that you pursued, and that you realized you were good at as you started to do it. And it's led you down to the point where you're actually doing it professionally now. So is MMA the only thing you do?
Yeah, I do MMA. I to be honest, I honestly like to just videotape my life and put it out to the world.
Cool.
For them to see my dope personality. But as far as MMA as a profession, yeah, that's just the only thing that I've done, and the only thing. I actually, you know, just from showing my life, I've got other opportunities from that, and it, you know, when you what do you call it? You got to play the social media game. You have to play the social media game in today's age, because if you don't, someone else, another fighter, another guy is going to take your opportunities from you.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. I've been playing the social media game. You know, you got to post, you got to keep this, you got to keep, it's like a job in a way.
Yeah, it's marketing 101, you know, and social media has changed the way that people do business in a lot of different ways. And I see it as a good thing. I see it as your social media pages or whatever they are. They're essentially a little mini commercial of who you are and your personality or whatever you're trying to put out there. And you can do whatever you want. You know, it could be extremely private and put nothing as far as, you know, your private life. You can only put certain things that you want. Or you can put it all out there, or you can make it very, you know, branded to what your cause is. And I've noticed this right away in any sport. Yes, you have to be successful and you have to be very skilled at what you do, but you also have to know how to market yourself. You know, you have to know how to do business, because if you don't, then you're not going to get compensated as much as the other person that does. You know, like Conor McGregor, you know, he is a great fighter. He's not the best. You know, he's lost a lot of fights and he's not really fighting right now, but he is an amazing promoter. He's an amazing marketer. You know, even the crazy shit that he does, it causes attention. And that's in anything. And, you know, I was asking my friend on the last episode, you know, that I was trying to figure out what is it that makes certain people become very successful in a certain field. And then another person with the same opportunity, same everything's, you know, they're not successful. And sometimes they're more skilled. Sometimes they're more, you know, whatever it is in that same field. But this person's making millions and this person's making nothing. What is it, you know? And I haven't figured it out 100% yet, but every time I'm interviewing people, I'm getting a little bit more of the answers that I'm looking for to find out, you know, what is it? And I do believe that that part has a lot to do with it, which is marketing, branding, and sales, communication, your ability to communicate with another person and emote, cause, you know, certain emotions in someone is going to get you more attention, and in return, more eyes, and in return, more money, you know? So if you are a professional MMA fighter, and let's say you have 2 million followers on social media, and you book a fight, that fight is probably going to get sold out, you know? Yeah. So now your leverage when negotiating your contract with the promotion, it's a lot higher. But guess what? If you don't know how to communicate, if you don't know how to market yourself, you don't know how to promote, and you have 2 followers, your mom and your girlfriend.
But you're the best fighter in the world?
Best fighter in the world, you know.
No one cares.
You'll still get the fight. You'll still make some money, but you're not going to make the same that the other person does, you know. So unfortunately, but at the same time, I think anybody can get at that, you know. Communication is a skill. Is just like riding a bike. You know, it's 2 people. One of them has to listen and the other one has to be heard, and the other person has to understand, and the other person has to feel like they're understood as well. If you're able to do that, you can negotiate and you can communicate with anybody, you know. So communication is a huge part of success in anything that you do, you know. Luckily, in sports, most high-level athletes do have agents, you know, that talk for them. They have managers, they have coaches that have been there before, back to talking about mentorship, that can talk for you, that can help you, that can give you a little tip, like say this, say that, this is what we want to get our point across. You know, this is not a good move that we do here because this, and that. So it's very important to align yourself with people that know what they're doing and that can help you, but you should also be learning at the same time so that you can speak up for yourself when you need to, you know. And not unfortunately, but in anything you do in the beginning is just you. It's just you and maybe a few other people. Like when I started my videography business, I do everything, you know, even in my podcast, like I shoot it, I edit it, I produce it, I host it, I, you know, whatever. Yeah. But as you start to get more and more, you start to expand, then you can start to bring other people on board to help you, you know, to kind of delegate different tasks to someone that maybe is even better, you know. Like I could find someone that's a better videographer, someone that's better at editing, someone that's better at audio engineering, and that could elevate your brand to a whole nother level. And that's why I love working with certain people, someone that has the same vision, the same frequency, the same energy as I do, and we can work together, you know, and go and grow. So right now, who are some of your mentors or coaches that have kind of helped you in your development and in your growth?
The ones that helped me the most, I can honestly say I had two coaches that really helped me out the most as far as my fighting skills.
Yeah.
But as far as my personality skills, it was just trauma. Trauma got me there.
Yeah.
It produced this wonderful personality that people just fall in love with.
Yeah.
And
they say trauma builds character, or adversity builds character.
Yeah, and so, like, I feel like the skill-wise was my coach's. His name is Vache Hasratian. He's an Armenian. He's well-known and wild card with Pacquiao, Freddie Roach, and all of them.
Yeah, I know who he is.
And then I have obviously, Joe Daddy Stevenson.
Amazing.
He has a
coach.
Wonderful personality, too.
Yeah,
and
he's a loving guy.
And I know he's had as well some trauma, and
Yeah.
everyone loves him.
Yeah.
And, like, it builds character.
Yeah.
So I just need a mic.
Yeah.
When I make it to the big show.
Yeah.
And another thing I like to add, some people don't got it. Some people don't have that pizzazz. They don't have that X factor.
Yeah.
They act like they do.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah.
And you can see right through it. But so at the end of the day, like, for me to the other fighters is be who you are. Don't try to be a fake person, because we see right through it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very important to be authentic and to be honest, in everything you do. I don't care what it is. It's very, very important to be authentic, be honest, and have some self-accountability. Know what you're good at, know what you're not good at. And, people be like, oh, you gotta work on where you're not good at. Like, yeah, you do. But at the same time, a fucking eagle is not going to do great in the water. A shark's going to eat it.
It's cringy.
It's like a tiger is great in the plains. It's not going to do good in the ocean. Be who you are. Don't dress up like something else that you're not. Because like you said, it's evident when you're playing a role and you're not being genuine. One of the things I tell people, you have to be congruent with three things: what you say, what you think, and what you do. If one of those three things is missing, it's going to be plain as day. You could be saying things like, I'm going to beat your ass, but on the inside, if you're thinking like, oh, he's going to beat me, I'm scared, this and that, just in your micro movements and stuff, it's like, bro, you ain't scaring nobody.
Exactly.
And you don't even believe what you're saying. But the same thing, when all three of those things are congruent, you're like, oh shit, this guy is about it. He believes what he says, and then he backs it up. If I say I'm going to do something, I deliver on it. That's the accountability aspect. And if for whatever reason you fall short, you also take accountability. You don't fucking blame anybody but yourself. And that is a champion mindset, a champion heart. That's why there's very, very successful champions in anything that have had major failure, but people still regard them as the best. Muhammad Ali, people always regard him as the best. Why? Because the guy took accountability for everything. Say what you want about him, but he took accountability for everything, and he was a true champion. And there's a lot of people like that too. Like even Conor McGregor, when he loses, if you listen to him talk, like, he takes accountability. He doesn't fucking make any excuses or this or that, He says his shit, but at the end of the day, he backs it up, to the best degree that he can. And when he falls short, the accountability's there, And in business, that is very important as well, too. If you have a business and, let's say it's a videography business, and you do a shoot and something goes wrong, you can't pass the buck. You have to take accountability and find a resolution and communicate that with your client. Same thing in fighting, you got to communicate that, fix that issue, and then improve upon it,
Yes.
Right now, what's your record?
My record is 5-1. I have 3 finishes, 2 submissions, and 1 TKO.
Nice.
And to be honest, I lost my first fight, my first pro fight.
What'd you learn?
And I learned.
Tell us about it.
My first fight, I fought this guy named Jesse Strader. He went along to fight in the UFC.
Nice.
But in that fight, I dropped him twice.
Yeah.
He was doing the stanky leg. He had the baby deer leg running. I'm
like, oh, he's dancing.
Exactly. I get excited. I jump. I pounce on him.
Yeah.
And I just lay it all on him.
Yeah.
But he found a way to survive. And and another thing, the lesson that I learned from that one is, well, the first lesson is don't take a short notice fight where you have to lose extra pounds. Yeah. That's the first lesson.
Yeah.
The second lesson is when you see someone hurt, don't release all of your testosterone on them and trying to knock them out.
Oh, you burned yourself out.
I burned myself out.
Yeah. So energy conservation. Yeah.
And I ended up getting TKO'd in front of my family, in front of all my friends, all in the first round. And it was one of those, what do you call it? The fork in the road. Which way? Should I continue this career or should I just move on to something else? Yeah. But, you know, my self-belief, me being stubborn, me being the Roberto, the Green Light Hernandez. Yeah. I continued because I knew that mistake was easily fixable. Yeah. And, here I am, 5 fights later, on a 5-fight winning streak. I'm on a tear. Hell yeah. You know, I feel like I deserved it. I earned this. Cage Warriors, thank you for providing this platform for me to express myself and do what I have to do. Right. And, everything's good. Yeah. But I had to learn that early, that mistake.
Good. It's much better to learn mistakes early on. You know, it's like if you get into business and you're, 25 years old and you fucking go bankrupt, that's all good. You know, you could build it up again. But if you're 75 years old and you go bankrupt, like, you don't have a lot of time to rebuild, brother. So it's good to learn these lessons early on. And one thing that you mentioned, you can also learn from your opponent. You know, you could learn, like, he, like you said, he found a way to survive. You know, sometimes where you're out on the ocean and then the waves start crashing and then you're like, fuck, I'm going to fucking tip over. I'm going to die. Sometimes you just got to ride those damn waves, and survive. And that's life for almost everybody. And in a lot of different ways, financially, emotionally, spiritually, you will get tested and you will have to, everybody comes to that fork in the road. Am I going to persevere, learn the lesson and grow? Or am I going to be a victim, a loser, and repeat the same cycle, And most people choose the path of least resistance, which is the loser route, the blame route, the, woe is me, it was because of this, it was because of that, instead of being like, this is what I did wrong and this is what I need to improve on. And I've learned this lesson. Now I'm going to persevere and grow. And that's great that you learned that early on. And guess what? It's going to come again. And as it keeps on coming, your goal is to learn the lesson. There's so many lessons that life has to give. And a lot of them, you just have to go through it, unfortunately. And that's how I learned most of my shit, like you burn your finger. Okay, maybe not. Yeah. Don't touch that shit again. Exactly. As long as you don't make a fatal mistake error where you die, then you can get up again and you can persevere. Yeah, you got knocked down, but hey, you're here today. You're on a 5-fight win streak. You're with an amazing promotion that can set you up to go into the major UFC game. Yes. And I know all these promotions that are out there, they want to be the major competition to UFC. But as of today, they're the number one promotion, when it comes to compensation, when it comes to exposure, when it comes to pretty much everything. So, I mean, it only makes sense for every fighter that is out there, unless you're like the major champion for like Bellator or like one of these other bigger ones, and you're doing it as a negotiation tactic. Most people want to go into the UFC, because it's like you made it to the Olympics. You made it to the best of the best, the big show. That's what people want to do. And most fighters, they want to showcase their skills against the best fighters. And the good thing is that Cage Warriors is a perfect place to challenge yourself. You need to have a strong, tough opponent to make you better. Did you see the last fight with
Volkan Islam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was a
amazing.
Beautiful fight. I actually saw it in the movie theater. I've never been to a movie theater to watch a UFC fight.
How was that like?
It was really cool, actually. You know, I thought it was going to be kind of weird, you know. But usually when I watch UFC fights, I go to the UFC gym, so I watch it while like I'm on the treadmill and shit. Yeah. Or I'm like lifting or like punching the bag and watching, like just start acting like I'm fighting and shit. Or I'll watch it at a bar where everybody's loud and screaming. And it was a different environment because you're like sitting down, you're watching it, and it was pretty cool. And it was like on a big old screen, you know.
And the people, like, were they screaming? Were they chanting, going crazy? Or was it, filled in?
It was completely packed. It was completely packed. And people were reserved, to be honest. They weren't as loud and as aggressive like at home or like in a bar. I think it's because of the stigma of like, shh, you're in the fucking movies, you know. But people still cheered. But it was cool because you didn't get interrupted or anything like that. Yeah. I mean, I was talking, but not like where everybody else could hear me or anything. I was just like telling the person next to me, like, oh, this or this, that, you know. Like, but it was cool. I'd do it again. But the point is that that fight was beautiful because it was two people at the elite level. Like I said, it's a dog fight, you know, and it could have gone either way. And I guarantee you that they're both a whole lot better today because of that fight. Yeah. They learned so much, you know, and they were able to expose each other for their strengths and for their weaknesses, you know. And if you're a fight analyst or you're a fighter itself, you can learn a lot from that fight. You know, you can break it down, study it, and, you know, learn some valuable lessons, you know. So now that you're on this win streak, what are your goals? What are you trying to do long-term in MMA?
Long-term MMA, obviously, I just want to, I want to obviously get into the UFC. I want to break into the top 10. I feel like my MMA game is very different from your ordinary people. You know, I'm a boxer and a jiu-jitsu specialist, and I build my MMA game around that. And I just don't think that these guys have what it takes to, they don't, because I spar with boxers. I spar with real, like, decent level boxers. Yeah. And the pace that they put on, they have a different pace, different speed, different footwork, different toughness. They just in your face. Yeah. And then when I go spar with these MMA guys, pro MMA guys, it's very slow. Yeah. It's they're stuck in the mud. Like Conor McGregor said, like, they're stuck in the mud. They're too slow. And I get to see everything. Like, if I'm slipping jabs from a boxer. Yeah. If I'm slipping, that's like the fastest thing from a boxer. Yeah. Everything else that an MMA fighter is going to do, like a takedown attempt, a kick, a punt, is super slow motion. Like, I could go use the restroom, come back, and then the punches still come, and then slip it. Like, that's how it is. Like, so the UFC is, you know, obviously everyone's dreams, you know, because I'm going to sound cliche, fight for the belt and all that stuff. Yeah. But as baby steps, I'm building my way there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So who are some of the athletes that you've trained with that have developed your skills the most?
The athletes that have developed my skills the most?
Yeah, that you train with.
Damn, there's a lot. Like, obviously, you know, me and Tony,
Tony Cortez?
Yeah. The one thing I can say about Tony is he's willing to go there with me. Yeah. We've went there before. Yeah. And that's what I like. Not a lot of fighters are willing to go there. Yeah. But
you guys sparred, wrestled. What did you do?
We sparred.
Okay, just boxing?
No, we sparred like MMA,
straight MMA?
Full on MMA, and we went there.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because I always see Tony when he's fighting, is he, like, when he grabs a hold of people, he always just flips them on their fucking head. Like, he just grabs them and throws them on. Is he strong? Like, how, he's like.
Well, look, Tony is, you know, he's still growing into his strength. Yeah, you know,
because I see him as like he's a smaller guy, but he has a lot of power. You know, like every single fight that I've seen him in, he's literally grabbed the person and fucking thrown them on their head.
No, yeah, Tony does everything good as to his opponents, but you know, when we spar, it's, you know, I could neutralize that. Yeah. But we're
you know
good.
What? We're fucking good. Setting up the fight, bro. You're gonna fight Tony now.
No, that's the homie. I respect him. Yeah. But like, we go good. But as far as mental, like, that's what I'm talking about. Skills for skill. But we went there mentally, and that's one thing that I could say about him, that like that mental game, we elevated that mental game, because we went there like where we really trying to trying to
hurt each other.
Yes. And not a lot of MMA fighters do that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of MMA, like, oh, bro, can you like take a light?
Yeah.
Like, oh, my knee hurts. Like, I'm like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I would say, who else? I've trained with Holly Holm. I sparred Holly Holm before.
Really?
Yes. I went to
the female?
The female.
She's an amazing kickboxer, bro.
And this was back when she was still in her prime.
Oh, wow.
She had just lost the belt probably to probably Amanda. I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably Amanda.
But we sparred. She asked to spar me. They asked. They see me hitting the bags, you know, and they were like, "Hey, you want?"
How big is she, by the way?
She's pretty. She looks buff, but she's pretty big.
Yeah, she looks like a pretty big girl.
She's big. Yeah, she's big.
I wouldn't want to fight her. I don't want to get kicked by her. That's it.
And I don't want to say any too much details, but let's just say
you beat the shit out of her, bro. I'm just
that's what I told my coach. I told her like I sparred her. I mean, I'm just gonna say, you know, she's a female and I'm a male. Yeah, and I won.
There you go. It's all good.
And my coach said, "Wait, you whooped her ASS?" And I was like,
I didn't say that. I said I won.
Yeah, like, and I was like, I don't want to be known as. I'd rather be known as me beating her than losing to her. Yeah. Like, I'd rather be like that.
That's true. Instead of saying she beat your ass.
Yeah. But I've trained alongside obviously Juan Archuleta. Oh, nice. We've sparred, we've grappled. You know, he just seeing his training motivate, the way he trains. Yeah, it kind of I like. All right, I see what you're doing. I see you. He's gotten better. Yeah, you know, and that. Like, just me being around, another thing, too, like, I train with Bobby Green, obviously, Tony, Bobby Green, that camp. But, like, when I went to Greg Jackson's, I sparred a whole bunch of people. Like, I don't even know. They're probably, like, in the UFC.
Yeah, you don't even know who they are, but they're, like, amazing fighters.
And one thing I could say is I had that confidence when I came back because I held my own. Yeah. And I was doing what I had to do. I took them down. You
played with the big boys and you held your own.
Yes.
That's a good feeling.
And I don't want. I even sparred with Anthony Pettis.
Oh, wow.
Anthony Pettis was over there at the time with Greg Jackson's. But, you know, we were doing more on the 50s sparring. Yeah. But one thing I could say about Anthony Pettis, like, he got some good kicks. Yeah. He got some, like, I remember I had my stance like this. Yeah. And he found a way to just flick a kick like perfectly right on the temple.
Yeah.
Just,
oh my god!
And I was like, all right, this is getting. I'm gonna try to just wrestle him.
Yeah, like somehow you got it in there.
Yeah, like he was showing
like whipped it in, huh?
The accuracy though, like just I was covering up and he was just.
Dang.
Yeah, so he was like on another level.
Yeah.
And but obviously there's a bunch of people I just don't know their names, but I know they're in the UFC. Yeah. But like I just have that confidence because I feel like I belong in the UFC.
Yeah, they're your contemporaries. They're the people that are in the fight with you.
Like they're fighting in the UFC, and I'm holding my own against these people. Yeah. So now I'm just like, I feel like I belong there now. Like, wait. So that's I just don't know their names, but
it's all good, man. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, it's a matter.
And they'll know your name.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's gonna look. I'm gonna say this right now. Everybody, you guys see this. You guys are gonna know my name. The name is Roberto the Greenlight Hernandez. You guys are watching this podcast now. And when I'm making it big in the UFC, you guys are going to come back to this podcast. And I'm going to be like, I'm your favorite fighter. You just don't know it yet.
We're speaking reality into existence. You know, speaking the truth into existence.
Exactly.
So that's awesome, man. And you got to do that, you know. And I can tell by everything you're saying that you believe what you're saying and that you're going to do it. You know, it's just a matter of time. It's like when you it's difference between setting a goal and having a mission. Like, this is my fucking mission in life. You know, it literally means like it's do or die. You know, like there is no returning. There is no nothing. Like, I burned all the bridges. This is my freaking mission. And when you have that mindset, like it's tough to stop someone when they have that, you know. And there's people that have religious beliefs that you will not do anything to wane them, and they're ready to die. There's people that have like, you know, their family. Like if you do something to her, like they're ready to die for that. And then there's people that have passions that they're like, this is what I'm going to do. You know, and I don't care who you are, what you are, you're not going to get in my way. You're either going to help me, you're going to be for me, or you're against me. And get the hell out of my way. And that's a great thing, man. So I'm really excited to see your career grow. You know, I'm excited for your fight. I'm going to check it out. And, you know, I'm excited to see you step your game up and get into the UFC and fight with the the people you've been holding your own with, and now you're gonna just beat the shit out of them. You know, we'll have the first male-female Holly Holmes versus. I'm just kidding.
You know what? I want to get this out too with Holly Holm. I remember I asked for a picture with her.
Yeah.
I asked for a picture. I remember she was talking. Yeah. There was 3 people in front of me. She was talking to Diego Sanchez and another person. Yeah. And I came in. I was like, hey, Holly Holm, like, can I get a picture? Yeah. And she looked at me and just went back to the conversation. She didn't even talk to me.
She didn't even acknowledge you?
She acknowledged me to, like,
look you up and down and say, like,
just said, all right, so back to what we were talking about, water.
Damn.
And I just never felt so like a rat. Like I felt like a rat.
Dang.
I just felt like I didn't belong here. Like what did I? So that she ruined my experience with meeting famous people. This was way back.
You know, they always say never meet your what's the
idols?
Word? Yeah, because it will ruin your perception of them. And, you know, and the reason for that is because everyone's a human. Everyone has, you know, you don't know. Maybe she just fucking had a horrible day, or maybe she's just a bitch in general. Who knows? But you don't really know what's going on in people's lives, you know. Other people talk very highly of her, and other people maybe had a bad experience. And, you know, for the most part, I tell people, like, don't even worry about shit like that. You know, just make sure that you are holding your own. You know, there might be a kid that comes up to you one day and asks you for a picture. You know, are you going to give him a good good experience, or is he going to be talking shit about you on a podcast, you know, 5 years from now? And guess what, Holly Holmes? That's why you got an extra fucking elbow in the face.
So much for the preacher's daughter.
That's funny, man. Yeah, I try to, you know, every communication or experience that I have with I'm in sales, you know, so every communication, conversation I have with anybody, I try to make sure that they leave feeling good. You know, so that anytime my name pops up, they're like, oh, it's Hannibal. You know, I feel good about that. I had a good experience with him last time. And, you know, it's almost impossible to make sure every single conversation, because like I said, I'm a human too. Sometimes I'll tell people to go fuck themselves, you know, and they're like, man, fuck that guy. Yeah. No one's perfect, but I try to consciously, you know, do that. You know, even sometimes where I'm like today I was exhausted, bro. And I had we had to chug 2 of those energy drinks and stuff. Yeah. And you have to, be a professional. You have to get in state, and you have to raise your energy up in certain situations. You got to, there's a time and place for everything. And when you're going to be showcasing your skills, you got to be on your A game, you know, and that's what I'm doing here. Like, I was fucking exhausted. Like, I fucking chugged this energy, and then you just build it up.
So reporting life, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing when you're fighting. You know, you never let your opponent see you sweat. You know, you might be going in there with a freaking jacked up knee. You know, you might be going in there with like fucking your days as shit. Like, he hit you, you're like, didn't even fucking hurt me, but you're like seeing fucking stars and stuff. And you have to persevere, because that's what makes the difference, you know? So I really want to thank you, you know, for coming on the podcast and sharing your story, your insight, your wisdom. We're definitely going to be following your career. I would love to have you back on the show once you, you know, continue on your career.
Get the W.
Get that win, bro. Get that belt.
It's going to happen.
Hell yeah, bro. We'll have you back on and share your story on, you know, what you learned from there. And where can we find you? Do you have a website or social media?
Yeah, you guys can find me on social media. My TikTok and my Instagram share the same, Slick Rob MMA. And it's exactly, there's no weird spellings. I know how Instagram used to be having
S with a freaking money symbol.
Money symbol underscore 90. No, Slick Rob MMA, exactly like that. My TikTok and my Instagram. And I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, or one sponsor, Safari Pools. You know, he makes this guy is like, his pools are like dope. Like, there's people that make
Picasso. The Picasso pools?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's basic pools, and then there's these pools. Yeah. And these pools, like, hey, they look legit.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll tag them on the episode. We'll make sure to tag your social media handles. And guys, you can also purchase tickets if you're in the San Diego area and want to see an amazing MMA promotion and fight, and check out Robert at cagewarriors.com. You can also watch it on UFC Fight Pass, where you get a bunch of different fights on there as well. And any last words you want to say before we end the show?
No, just want to, again, give another quick shout out to my wife and my kids, you know, because, you know, I'm in this, and it's pressure for me just doing all of this as well, but it's pressure on them too. So, like, for them to be behind me, you know, it really is like they're going through it with me as well. Yeah. So if I win, we all win, and I just want to say thank you for supporting me, and you guys are my wife and my kids are my number one. So thank you guys.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful way to end the show. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow Robert on his Instagram and on his TikTok and his social media. Check out Cage Warriors, and we'll see you guys next time.